Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of About Abroad, where it's my job to introduce you to people who have built amazing lives for themselves in various foreign corners of the globe. We're talking with expats and thought leaders about moving abroad, remote work, visas, and all the fun and practical knowledge that you need to know to follow in their footsteps. If you've ever dreamed of making a life for yourself overseas, maybe working remotely or embracing long-term travel, retiring or studying abroad, or even just taking a peek inside life beyond your borders, you've landed in the right place. My guest today is a good friend of mine named Rafa. He's from Venezuela, has lived in Argentina, but now calls Valencia, Spain, his home, which is where we met. Rafa really let it all hang out about what life is like in Venezuela, particularly while he was growing up during a major crisis, and how he sort of dug his way out of that to eventually go on to get a master's degree, become a developer, immigrate to Spain with he and his wife, and really build just an amazingly comfortable life for himself, despite some challenges that were presented to him and sort of inherited that he couldn't have helped. So really taking a peek inside Venezuela and what life has been like there and their crisis, as well as how someone from Latin America can immigrate to Spain fairly easily, a couple other visa options that might be available to people coming from other countries if you're interested in coming to Spain. And so just a nice mix of really interesting conversation about life in a foreign country and what it takes to immigrate to another one. So I really appreciated his vulnerability and honesty, and it was just a super interesting conversation. I learned a ton about Rafa, a ton about Venezuela, and was just excited to share this conversation with you all. So I hope you'll help me in welcoming Rafa to About Abroad. Rafa, welcome to About Abroad. How you doing, buddy?
Awesome. Glad to be here.
I wish we could be doing this in person. These are weird times though, but Zoom and recording we'll have to do for now, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Just like we were talking before, the first time you invited me here, I was like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, having a couple of beers with my friend, helping him out, it will be great. It will be fun. It's still great, it's still fun, but not beers. So yeah, it's not exactly the
Yeah,
same.
a little bit different. I'm excited to talk to you today and to learn a little bit more about your story and to share some of what I already know with the people listening to this. The reason that we decided to have this conversation was because your story is really interesting. I mean, you come from Venezuela and move here to Spain. You've also lived in Argentina, maybe even other places. I'm not even sure, but your story and the path that you took to get here is very distinct, I think, and I think a lot of people probably don't know a lot of what's going on in Venezuela, some of the details there and kind of what life is like there. So I think it will be interesting to dive into that. And then also just how you've sort of risen to this point where your background in education and becoming a developer and now working from Spain and potentially, having more family here and stuff. There's just so many things we could dive into. So I'm really excited about it.
Me too, man. Let's get this started.
Let's dive in. So first, I guess let's just start. Can you give a little bit of background on your move, like the last couple years and what that's looked like for you, including your stop in Argentina and then moving to Spain, just sort of like the genesis of all that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, to begin with, like you said, I'm from Venezuela. There's a lot of people having better and worse times than we are. There's better countries, worse countries. I mean, Venezuela right now is in a really tough spot. It's not the same as when I was born. It doesn't even have the same name. Now it's not called Venezuela. It's called República Bolivariana de Venezuela. So yeah, it's just a completely different everything, even the flag. So yes, there are countries that are on tougher moments, tougher spots, but still, life in my country took a huge change when I decided to leave my country. I left Venezuela on 2016, I think, or 15. I can't really remember right now. Yeah, at the moment we had a control on the dollars and any kind of foreign currency. So we were forced to work with the local one. we at the same time our economy was kind of stopped. We had no local production. So just to give an example, you need medicines to treat sick people, right? Now we couldn't produce those medicines, so we had to import it. But it was illegal to get the foreign currency, so we didn't have anything. So if you were sick, you would, I mean, that was it for you. And if that happened with medicines, that happened for everything in my country. There are things that we give for granted, like internet. Internet is a thing that we all give for granted because it's everywhere, and it's just like oh, I have slow connection. I have 100 megabytes, but in my country, the fastest one when I left was supposed to be 1 megabyte, but it never got to one. So
That
yeah,
was
it
the
was.
story that you had one, but it didn't actually exist.
Yeah, exactly. So people in here, they use Netflix like, okay, I just go in and watch Netflix. Netflix was impossible in my country because the real time, that was impossible. So you could put a movie, so you could start downloading, trying to play, and you go out there, have your whole work day, go back home and watch the movie in the night. You just rewind it and watch it. That's something that you could do, but just like the kind of life we had right now, we had no access to it. For older people at the moment, for older people like my parents, my uncles, they that wasn't that much of an issue. Yeah, the med part, the food charges and stuff like that, that was bothersome. But they were used to our life without Netflix and stuff like that. That gave me the courage to try and look for a better life. So I always wanted to. The one thing that people don't usually say is that there's ways, legal and correct ways to do everything in life. So, for example, I've been on situations where I need money. So my solution for it is okay, I gotta work to get the money, right? At the same time, I met people that are on spots like mine saying, hey, I need money, so I just go around and steal. So that's never been an option for me. That was the same when I wanted to leave my country. South America in general is in similar positions. Life in South America, it's different. It's like going to a safari. Some amazing things. It's beautiful. It has a lot of culture in different parts. Like being on a time machine is really different. And I wanted something different. But going from Venezuela, coming here to Europe, or going to the States, or going to, I don't know, to Australia, making that big jump was a tough thing when you had no money, you had no papers, you had nothing saying like, hey, I'm worth your invest in. I can't go myself, and I'm worth your invest in me to take me there to give me a job or anything. So I took baby steps to do it. That's why from Venezuela I went to Argentina. It was an improvement. It was better in there. I
What was better? Like immediately, what felt like, what was the transition like to Argentina in terms of like, okay, this immediately feels like a step in the right direction. Like
right.
anything tangible, basic that just immediately kind of struck you?
Right. Okay. Well, 2016 was the exile year from Venezuela. It was the year that everyone left. And one funny thing we had from that year that everyone was making fun of is was as soon as you left the country, the first thing that every Venezuelan did was go to a supermarket and take a picture of a supermarket with actual food. So
Wow.
yes, that's that's a thing that is shocking for you. I mean, going to a market, having food, we can talk a little more about Venezuela, how it is right now, how it was before the change. But as the moment when I left, going to a supermarket and having food, it was like it was shocking. For example, I work online. I usually work with clients from the States. So for me, working was super complicated, super hard because the internet is really difficult, and suddenly being in a country where you get the lowest and cheapest plan and it's 100 times better than the one that you have, it was like, okay, now this is great. Being able to get to your flat and it's like, well, I wanna see a movie, and you just pay, I don't know, $10 to get Netflix, and you can see as many movies as you want during the weekend. So those kind of small things that we give for granted, having food, having medicine, having internet, I mean, those things that should be normal for everyone, those were the shocking things that the first week when I left the country was like, now this is different. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, in
I,
Argentina, yeah.
I was gonna say I remember very distinctly when your wife Giovanna, who I'm sure we'll reference throughout this show, but Giovanna, when she returned from a trip to Venezuela recently, she said something to me that really stuck with me, and I said, you know, how was it? Is it better now? She hadn't been back in many years. You can elaborate on that, but she hadn't been back in a while, and she said, yeah, it's much better. You know, people have food. And then she just kept moving on like past that, and I was really struck by that, like the fact that there was food in the supermarkets and things like that was stood out to her as like, yeah, it's gotten a lot better. And so to hear you kind of elaborate on that now, I'm thinking like, wow, that was a very prevalent situation for you.
Yeah, but you get used to it. I mean, these are not things that happen. I remember a little bit before I left my country, Japan had a natural disaster, a tsunami, I think they're called. Yeah, the water came in, it destroyed the city, and after a month, I don't know, a couple of months maybe, everything was built again. I mean, the highways, the city, everything. People were living, people were working in there, and that's the difference. They were cool. Now they had an accident. It was like shocking, and um, their life was turned around the whole way around just in a moment. So they just it was okay. Now we gotta do something about this, right? But for us, it wasn't like that. For us, it's more like there's a story. I don't know in English if it makes sense, but it's like boiling frog. If you
Boiling a
put
frog, yeah.
yeah, if you put a frog inside hot water, it will jump. But if you put it in normal water and then you start heating it up, it will die inside. It was pretty much the same for us.
Hmm.
We got used to it. People really get used to stuff, and people will survive. So we never died. We never had a war because like, hey, my life is a mess. Let's go to work. War, no work. uh, I can't live like this. No, for us, you just get used to it. So one day you went to the supermarket and you have five kind of sodas. The next day it was four. The next day it was three. Then it was two, and he still have soda, but you don't have the soda that you like anymore. So you just went and start taking, I don't know, milk. So
Hmm.
when eventually there was no soda anymore, you were like, well, it doesn't matter. I was already drinking milk, so whatever. So
Yeah, so that's interesting. So like you, and I think you referenced this before, and I honestly wasn't sure before us having this conversation. Was the situation that you left, and you mentioned the mass exile that happened around this 2015 2016 point when a lot of people left. We should, I guess not everybody, but a big number of people left Venezuela during that time. Was it not like that for most of your life? I mean, at that point you're in your 20s, and but like when you were a teenager, when you were growing up, was it more prosperous? Did you feel like you had more at your fingertips, or was it some of the same?
yeah, well, Venezuela is a kind of a new country, to be honest. We were nothing and had nothing until early, I don't know, the beginning of the 20th century. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a tops. We were a country before we had nothing. So we're actually a real country with our infrastructure and everything we had. We had less than 100 years or 100 tops, and that's when we found oil. So we found oil, and suddenly we went from poor to we have something, we have money. So we start doing highways, we start doing buildings, we start doing things, we start creating cities, and there's things like I was saying, people that lives here in Europe, like we do in Valencia, we give a lot of things for granted. We in Venezuela, when I was born, when I was a little kid, I was giving a lot of things for granted too. One of the things is, for example, I was talking with some friends yesterday. They live in Uruguay, and they don't have a gas, the direct gas that goes to your flat. They don't have that. They just gotta have those. I don't know how they're called. You have the name. You know the name? The
Like a
a
stove, like a
tank.
a tank, yeah, like
Yeah,
a,
like a
a tank of
tank that
gas.
has gas, and you have to go and fill it up again and then bring it back to your flat. So because when they start building those cities that are older than mine, that's what they had. So the city, most of the city still have that system. Instead, what I was from, an old building had 40 years, so everything was really new, and we were used to a different kind of lifestyle. I mean, our wage. minimum income. I'm not sure the wage. That's the name.
Minimum wage. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really high for us. We were like, no, that's nothing, and everyone was going on revolutions and stuff. But to be honest, it was really really high, higher than it is here on Europe. And well, I mean, my family wasn't rich. My mother's side of the family, my grandma, she was a school teacher, and she had to raise 7 kids. It was a time where they was sleeping on the school because after the school was over, they just stay there and sleep because they didn't have a house. On my dad's side of the family, my grandparent died, and my grandmother, she was a laundry girl that did laundry for the people on the neighborhood. She had no job, and my dad had to start working to help out the rest of the family. He was the older one. We were not rich, but still we were used to travel. We traveled to Orlando a lot because, well, I mean, it was better than our country and everyone speaks Spanish. So yeah, Florida, yeah, and we were used to a lot of things. There was not a Christmas where everyone from the richest to the poorest had at least a new clothes, a new underwear or something. So we did have a great lifestyle, but well, we had a lot of money from the oil. We were used
Mhm.
to having a lot of those good things that we gave from granted. We never worked for them. They just suddenly arrived, and we start wanting more without working for it, and it start making some weird stuff and some weird turns here and there, and that take us to the 99, 98, 99, where the current government started. When they started, it was a, I mean, we're not going into politics right now. They were supposed to be completely different from what they are now. The country was pretty much sure. Well, right now it's a disaster. The country was supposed to be a disaster sooner. What happened was that we had the oil tank. I don't know if it's tank, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, well, it was $1, and then suddenly it was 100. So we had 100 times more money than what we were supposed to, and we were rich. And that's when everything went to hell,
That's
because
because the price of oil went up so much. It went
yeah,
went up like 100%.
yeah, it went up a lot because different reasons. And then when the war started between America and, I don't know who was the war. Yeah. When that war started, the oil price was skyrocketed. So we were even richer. And
Mm.
at that moment was that when everything on my country failed, because you had people that they wanted to steal an amount of money, and suddenly there was a lot more money, a lot more people. They were like, okay, so vote for me and have a fridge, vote for me and have, I don't know, this. And people got used not to work.
Mm.
And eventually, that the real problem in my country, that's what I was saying, difference from what it is like having a disaster in Japan, that the next day everything is done, and what happened in my country is that we got used to it, and we want we want to stop being poor, but we don't want to work. We
Right.
just don't want to be poor anymore. So someone please give us money. So that's pretty much what is the situation in my country. It was worse when I left. It was My country started getting worse and worse and worse and worse. We reached the worst moment a couple of months after I left. If I'm not wrong, it was around 2017. Can't really remember, when we were used to having blackouts. Blackouts at the beginning was like, things failed, we had a blackout. After a while, we realized that we were just unable to supply the energy that the country needed. So we start having scheduled blackouts. Like, okay, this part of the city won't have light Tuesdays. This part of the city won't have light on Mondays. So we could kind of stabilize the electricity, the
Wow.
power on the city. But we still have other blackouts. When we got to a place where we lost electricity for a month. I think it was insane. Everything on the fridge, so you couldn't have food. Now the little bit of food that you had went bad because your fridge had no power. So it was really dark, and hard moments on my country. I was already out, but my family was there, and the conclusion of that moment was to dollarize the economy. So we dollarized everything. So now you can find pretty much anything you might want in my country. The thing is that it's on dollars. Now, the funny thing about it is that you gotta buy things on dollar using dollars, but no one earns in dollars, and the price of the dollar is just super high, and it's like, okay, how much for a rice? So a rice in here could be €1. In Venezuela, it would be $5. That is, I mean, it's a lot more, but yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. It's something that you could pay, but the minimum wage is like $3. So how are you gonna buy rice a month if you don't even earn that, right? So
What is the local currency if it's not dollars?
the local currency is bolivares. It's not
Bolivares.
bolivares anymore. It was bolivares. Then they changed it to bolivares fuertes. That is like they took three zeros out of it. Then they moved it to bolivares soberanos. That it took some more zeros and some other stuff because my currency would be insane. It's like,
Yeah.
please, 10 billions to get an ice cream, please.
I need 30,000 bolivares fuertes for a cafe.
No, no, no. That's it's like that right now.
Yeah.
But it would be 30 billions to get a
Yeah.
cafe. Yeah. So
Got it. Got it.
yeah.
Okay. And
So
and so let me ask what just I mean cuz I don't know the answer and I'm sure others listening don't either and again like trying to stay away from being like political about it just matter of fact like all this money comes into Venezuela through oil and but then there's not enough money to go around to keep food on the shelves and electricity going. What happened to did the money dry up? Did I get that people didn't really want to work, but if all the money was there and then all of a sudden it wasn't, where's the gap there?
right, there's the gap. I mean, there's one thing you gotta do if you want to be able to steal money or to do whatever you want in your life is to be complete opposite of what you're doing in America. I mean, in America you have different states, and each one of those states is kind of independent. They have their own structures, they have their own budgets, they have their own things, right? In my country, we centralize everything on the capital and the central government. Everything was centralized. Now, the first step that we all do in South America, because that is going on in pretty much all the countries in South America, is you gotta block the foreign currency and have an official exchange system. What that means is that, okay, you need to import, maybe not the end product, but you need to import the materials that you will use to create the product, for example. So okay, cool, you got to import that. To be able to import, you need foreign currency, but you can't get it. It's illegal, and if I know that you're using foreign currency, I'll close your shop. If you want to have currency, you got to come to me.
Mm,
And that's when things started to be weird, because yes, the country did have a lot of dollars and a lot of stuff, but we couldn't access that. I mean, it was state that managed. Well, it's normal that a state managed the money. That is kind of normal. But in this case, it was really really hard, because there was little no way for it to arrive to the streets to modify the economy. So
mm,
if a normal country gets more income, the exchange rate between the for example, the dollar and the bolivar will move depending on, hey, the country's getting more money right now, my currency is getting stronger or weaker. But when the government comes and say, hey, this is the price for it, it doesn't matter if you're getting more or less, this is the price for it, for the exchange rate. So this is how my economy is. This is as strong as I say. So
wow.
so yeah, that there's hundreds of examples that I could give you of people that say they went and say like, okay, I want to import. I have this example for medicines because it's just a small gap. Last week there was a luxury hotel in my city in Caracas that is called Humboldt, that is on the top of the mountain that is surrounding the Caracas, the city. And it was a luxury hotel, amazing, great. When the government came in, they shut it down because they were like, no, that's the perfect example of rich people having throwing money away. A normal person will never be able to get there. Cool, awesome. Then this year or last year, I can't really remember, there reopen it 20 years later, and it's like I said, it's a luxury hotel, right? And normally in a luxury hotel, you gotta have like first aids, like you have something if you get an allergic reaction, it's on top of a mountain. You gotta get a I can
Helicopter? Or?
no, you know the things that are on a cable that
Ah,
looks
yeah, like a cable car or
like a
funicular
cable
or
car.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a cable car, but a huge cable car, just
Yeah,
to get
yeah, yeah.
down.
Ah,
Uh,
okay. Like one of those ones that carries like 50 or 100 people or something.
right, exactly, one of
Got it.
those. So it's literally you can't drive down, you can't
Wow.
walk. I mean, you gotta use that. So you have to have first aid in there. I mean, if someone having a strong allergic reaction, you gotta put an injection or whatever. Same for asthma or stuff like that. My cousin was working in there. She had an asthma attack and she died last week because there was no they had no first aid in a luxury hotel. They didn't have for allergic reactions, they didn't have anything for asthma, they didn't have anything for anything. And it was like, well, let's get her down. And getting down and a half an hour she just died on the way down. So those things still happen in my country. The downside of it is that there's people like I was saying that just went and say like, hey, I'm going to import some allergic medications and stuff, and it was like, okay, I approve you $100 million, right? Whatever, insane amounts of money because you're importing things for the whole country, and so they give you the dollars and then you gotta pay the bolivars. But the thing is that the official exchange rate was uh, 1,000 times less than the black market one. So you just
Okay.
get the dollars, sell a little bit of it with the bolívares that you get, you pay the state for the dollars they gave you, and now you're rich. And you never
Wow.
got the medicines. So that happened a lot. That's just one of the examples that of the of what kind of things happen in my country, not only with people related on on the government. I mean, anyone could do those kind of stuff. And the thing was that the Venezuelans, instead of saying, hey, I want to do the right thing, like I was saying, we were used to get money the easy way without working, without doing anything. We're not hoping to have an opportunity to prove ourselves we're worth of what we have. You're just waiting for an opportunity to get something, period.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's kind of like deeply ingrained in the culture. Like, you're waiting on that money to arrive because it's been promised, and if you vote for this person, you'll get a fridge, and we have oil money. Like, you don't grow up thinking I'm going to go to college and get a job and work 40 hours a week and build up for retirement. It's just like not
we're
what
rich.
you're told. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're already
it's like
rich. Why do that?
exactly. I'm rich. Why don't I have that money? That's something that we're just so used to that way of thinking, and that do work in some places. I mean, for example, I've heard stories of Iceland, where it's supposed to be pretty much like that. The country don't have that many people, inhabitants, and they do have a lot of income, the country itself, because they have natural resources, and they literally just try to distribute the population because well they do have money and they're trying to make life better for everyone. But when you have a really small country with 40 million people on it, I mean it's not that simple.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I have two quick questions for you on things that you mentioned earlier and just wanted to dive into a tiny bit deeper. With all those internet issues and you being a developer working for clients in the US, literally how did you work? What was did you have to go to a special place? Did you have some special internet connection? Did you only work during a certain time? Like what's the story there?
yeah, well, like everything else, well, my country was going south and an amazing speed. I mean, we have one of the worst connections you could possibly imagine, but it wasn't always like that. It's the same with the energy. It's not like we now, yes, we probably require more energy now than we did before, but the thing is that now we're not able to supply as much energy or internet as we could before. So when I was back in 2002, 2004, something like that, Venezuela was the country with the best internet connection and internet. I don't know how to say that. That the
Infrastructure?
not infrastructure. I mean, how far it reached. I mean, for
Ah,
every 100 for every 100 person people, I don't know, 60 had internet, and back then
Yeah.
it was a huge amount. It was the biggest number in whole South America, and the connection was cool compared to what was normal at the moment. When I started college, it was 2006. It was it wasn't good anymore. We were lacking already, but it was usable. So my college, it had an amazing connection, amazing back on the day. Right now we don't have internet in my college.
I'm thinking about, honestly, I'm thinking about my internet connection at that time. I'm doing some references, and I'm thinking, okay, about that time, I believe we were using like America Online, AOL, and like that stereotypical kind of like like
The
the
dialing,
the
right,
dial
right,
up
right.
thing, like
Yeah,
that's coming to
dial up.
mind. And I remember like instant messaging kind of coming around. So it may not have been like all that different. It's out like it was slow. It wasn't normal for everybody to have a laptop, or smartphones
Right,
didn't
right.
exist, like.
That's
So we're
that's
we're
it.
not
I
too
mean,
far apart there.
right, exactly. I mean, the first smartphone was the iPhone, and it was 2007. So we're talking about even before that. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, ours was a little bit slower compared to the rest, yes, but it was. I mean, it's not like everyone had internet, and
Yeah.
it's not like you require a
It
better
wasn't
connection than that.
necessary.
It
No, it
wasn't
wasn't
necessary.
necessary. And your expectations were much lower. I mean, you didn't, like you said about the frog jumping out of the water, like you're not really expecting that you get like Wi-Fi everywhere, or that you can just like download a movie right away. Like people were just getting Napster and like figuring out how to download music illegally and stuff, and that
Yeah,
would
that
take,
was it.
and you didn't mind that. Like, oh, that's going to take 3 hours or 4 days or something. You're like, yeah, whatever.
And that was normal. That
It
was
was
that was
normal. Yeah.
completely normal. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying. I mean, it wasn't that much of a deal for me. Now, when I finished college and I started working, that was really tough. I mean, I was like, okay, connection it is tough. Now, when I when I started working with clients on America, we had an office that it was a bunker. One of the things that we became the new India. So it was chief developers, but we didn't have that much of an issue with the time zone. So it was okay, easier to communicate with them on the working hours. Also, at least on my country, we our culture is really American, similar to Americans, because, like I said, we're a new country, while a lot of the other South American countries were developing and had a strong sense of, oh, my culture, my stuff. I created this kind of art, this kind of I don't know, architecture is mine.
Yeah.
We didn't have that, so we just suddenly have money on our pockets, and we were like, who can sell us something? And America was right there, and you were buying us oil, and it was like, we're buying oil, so if you want, you can also give us the money back and get something like this. And our we're used to, in other places in America, you used to walk to stuff, like here in Europe, so you can walk, but not in my city. I mean, in Venezuela,
Right.
and mainly in Caracas, you gotta drive. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a
we're
dry. It's
not.
like, yeah, Europeans often like find that really either interesting or maybe repelling or fun. I don't know sometimes, but like when they go to US, they're like, man, you drive everywhere. I'm like, yeah, we do. Like the cities were built for driving, whereas here in Europe, the cities are built for walking in, horse carriages and stuff
Yeah, yeah,
years,
exactly.
centuries ago. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, you're saying like Caracas, for instance, was built more in this way. It was a newer city, a newer country, and built for the modern day. And so just a different, like more American style like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're a lot more like the way we're used to have a stuff, and we used to live. Um, to be fairly honest, I was laughing about what you said about Europeans going, and I completely forgot what I was trying to get.
Yeah, you were talking about how you actually worked, like how
Right,
did you make working as a developer
right,
online
right,
work in a place
right.
where with the
Exactly.
internet situation.
Right, exactly. So for us, we had a similar culture. We have similar time zones, so it was a win-win. There was a lot of hype at the moment looking for developers in Venezuela, and after a while, the main concern was like, okay, everything is great, but there's at least 5 to 8 days a month where you're not working because you don't have water, you don't have internet, you don't have light. So that became an issue later on. So the company I'm working for, they built a bunker. It was a huge house with bathrooms, with bedrooms, with offices, an electric plant that worked using gas because gas is the only thing we never lost. I mean, we always had gas. We had a huge water tank. We had an internet provider coming from Panama that
Mm.
it was going through satellite. So we had everything. It didn't matter if the country was going south, we had everything. And if there was water outside, we had bedrooms to stay over in the office. We didn't have a kitchen. We had food coming over. We had everything. So no matter what happened, we would never miss a day of work.
So this
So
was like a developer compound, like a place built or at least redesigned for you guys to be able to work as developers with strong internet and not have to leave if you don't have to for American companies and that's and then you're kind of like bringing internet connection in from Panama to make this work.
yeah, exactly. That was literally it.
Wow.
We were all developers. Well, some designers, some human resource, some QA. But yeah, it was made for that reason, and we were working for different clients in America on that bunker where we were missing anything. And
Wow.
and yeah, I mean, I used those things. I was working from there, obviously, because internet. But
Mhm.
the good side of, well, I don't have water back home, so I take a shower in there. I did use those kind of things a little bit, but after I left, when I told you that the city went dark and we didn't have any light for a long time, that was a
You
lifesaver
mean like
for
are you saying that like metaphorically or like there literally wasn't electricity and light, like electric light?
yeah, there was not electric light for like a month. So that's when the food went bad on the fridge. So, but I
And
already left the
including the
country.
compound? Do you know you weren't there anymore, but was
No, I
the
went there,
compound?
but that bunker it did have light because it had the
Okay.
electric plant that worked on gas.
Uh,
So everyone that worked at my company that was still on Venezuela, they were putting their food in those fridge in there. They were like sleeping there. They were taking showers, bringing the family over because I mean it lasts so long that I mean you were just trying to take any kind of chance that you had.
yeah,
And
yeah. How many people roughly? Like, are we talking tens or hundreds or what? Is that like a big place?
yeah, it was in a building like a commercial building because there's a lot of laws and restrictions if we wanted to do something like that on a commercial stuff. So what was done on the moment just to try to actually do it without all the bureaucracy and stuff was a house. It was a huge house, but it's still a house, and we were like 30.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And no, yeah, I mean it
So
was.
the other question I was going to ask, I was going to say there that was one, and then the other one was you've mentioned this like kind of like it's built into the you feel like it's kind of built into the society a little bit to like kind of expect these, I don't know if handouts is the right word, but like people don't want to work really hard. And that's been a problem for the country because of everything you've already said. That's not the case for you. Like you went to college, you gotta like you kind of followed a more like what maybe someone from my country or Europe or other countries would say, like more of like a normal path. Like went to college, you get a job, you've got a master's degree. And I feel like I'm curious to know more about like why you think you went in a different direction, like whether that was like ingrained in you or some opportunity that arose for you or just some hardcore desire to escape and do more. Why do you think you don't fit into that box and if there's anything like additional you can say about that to kind of shed some light on it.
I don't know. To be honest, to be fairly honest, I don't know. I mean, my country, like you said, it's a really new country. We had a lot of things we gave from granted. I mean, for example, in my country, everyone was able to go to college. I mean, it didn't really matter if you were dumb as abroad. Uh,
Nice
uh,
censorship there.
yeah, yeah. But still, you could go to college. I mean, if you couldn't afford, uh, the best college in my country were public one. The public ones were like the top. It was really hard to get into a public college. There was the private. If you were at least good at something, good at sport, good at studying, good at anything, you would get a scholarship. Now, if you were bad at everything, then you had to pay. But if you couldn't pay, there was a lot of different colleges where there are other ones that you could afford. I mean, we were full of options, and anyone could go to college. To be honest,
Do you think pretty
so
much anybody could go for free? Like, would it be? Do you know many people that paid to go to college, for instance?
well, my brother did pay to go to for college. I went to a public one, but I work while I was studying to pay for all my expenses too. So and if my college was a private one, like there were some really expensive private college, but there were others that were not that expensive. So even if I wasn't able to go to the public one, with what I was earning working at whatever stuff I was at the moment, nothing too professional or anything, I could still pay for my own tuition. So it's something that yes, anyone can do it. So my wife, she paid for her own tuition while she was in college, and it's not like she got a loan and she had to pay it later. You can
She
just
just
pay
paid
it,
it.
yeah, month by month. So yeah, anyone could go. It's just some people decided not to. But even so, most of the people in at least in my city went to college. I mean, that's a really standard thing
Mm.
to have a degree. It's just that after you have the degree, some people want to work, some people don't. In my country,
That's a whole nother thing.
yeah, exactly. In my country, there's a saying that you're not cool if you're working for someone else. I mean, you gotta be an entrepreneur.
An entrepreneur.
Yeah, right. So whatever you do, I mean, maybe you were a surgeon, but you have something to sell gum, and it's like, well, but this is yours, right? So you're cool. If you were
Yeah.
working on a clinic as a surgeon, then you would be a stupid guy. So it's like, I mean, we
Better to
do
be the gum salesman and have it be your gum than
exactly.
operating on people's brains and saving lives.
Exactly. We do have those kind of stereotypes. We do have some things. I studied, like I said, that was a completely natural, normal thing. So I never even considered the option not going to college. From there on, I don't know. I just wanted more. I just thought that, I mean, I wasn't the brightest one when I was a little kid or the fastest one or whatever. So I got used to hard work hard for everything I wanted, and I suppose that it just stuck with me. And when I wanted to leave my country, there were a lot of options. We could apply for political asylum, but we were like, okay. I mean, it's not like we're at war and someone is killing me or whatever. I mean, I understand that everyone can take their own chances, but I think that if you could take a more legal and cool approach, we could just leave the country and be illegal somewhere else. We know a lot of people that did that, mainly going to America. but but it wasn't really an option for us. I mean, we honestly thought that we had something to give, and we wanted to take the right approach. That's why we first went to Argentina. When we save enough money, I well, we were in Argentina. I made a master degree online here on Spain,
Hmm.
on a university here in Spain, and my wife too. We kept studying. We were saving as much as we could. So when we were able to, we make the jump and come here to Europe, and we're taking it one step at a time. And we left our country more than 4 years ago, and it took us more than two to be able to leave America. We know people that they just woke up, got anything they could on a bag. They bought a one-way ticket to America, to the States or here to Europe, and just left like that. And when they arrived, they were like, well, someone gotta help me. I mean, I'm from
Who's
Venezuela.
gonna
I'm
help me?
I,
Yeah.
I'm having yeah, I'm having a hard time in there. People are starving. I need help. There gotta be some charity in here that gotta take care of me. I'm a victim, and I'm like, come on, dude. I mean, it's not like, I mean, there's people that really, like I said, always gonna be someone that is better or worse than you are. But I don't think a lot of the people that take that approach, I think it's just because it's the easy way, because you can just live today and you're living tomorrow in another place instead of working years for it. But not everyone really is on a spot that they need that kind of special treatment, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I know people that lost everything on war. There's been a lot of wars in here in Europe, not that far away. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
after I was born, there've been wars in here, and there's people that I don't have a house. It's not like I don't want to have a house. Just a bomb just went into my roof, and I don't have a house, and my mom died, and I was like, I mean, those are extreme situations that it's just
Yeah.
hard to get over it. We're not on that spot. Like I said, we're like the frog on the water. We didn't went to a war or a natural disaster. We just step by step get got used to different worse situations, but we still have ways to look for opportunities for ourselves. I mean, you can still go to college in my country. It's not easy I mean, the college right now don't have that much resources. I mean, they're tough spot, but you can go, and you can have some value that maybe won't take you to I don't know, to Los Angeles right away, but it might take you to Bogota, and from Bogota it might take you to another city, and then
Mm.
you can keep going.
Yeah. Did did you feel, do you recall, like did you feel when you were leaving Venezuela, like at that time you had decided like, okay, we're going to take the right path, the correct path to do this correctly, go to a country where we're welcome and legal and and work and show value, all of that. Did you feel like it was sort of expected at that point? Like I'm imagining you having this, let's say, having this conversation with your parents, like, hey, Giovanna and I are going to leave, we're moving to Argentina. Was that like a surprise, expected, a long time coming? Like, what was that like?
Right. This is really funny. I mean, there's a song like everyone, everywhere. We have higher people with more money or whatever. We did. There was a college that it was for rich kids. To be honest, I mean, it wasn't a bad college. It wasn't the best college. It was just a college for rich people that they were used to be on their circle. Now they're on their circle on that college, and they, for some projects, for whatever, they did a video that it was called Caracas Ciudad de Despedidas, something like that. That is like Caracas, the city of goodbyes, something like that. And it was a video with interviews and stuff. And it was funny because they were saying stuff like, "No, I would definitely go." There was one of the phrases that the way the guy said it, it was really funny. It was really high class the way he was talking, and everyone was making fun of it. And at the time, I was like, I don't feel this is mistaken. I mean, you're making fun of it because you want, but I think that's real, right? 5 years after it, it was that. I mean, when I left my country, I have a goodbye party every single weekend. So
Everybody, so every weekend somebody was leaving, and it was sort of, it's correct. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I have this impression that it was sort of like a positive thing. Like you're people are leaving, you're sad to see them go, but they're going on to something
obviously,
better. Yeah.
right. I mean, right as it is right now, I have more friends of my friends back home. I have more of them here on Spain than back in Venezuela. I have, I think, like two, three friends back in Venezuela from my college, and like 10 or 12 are here on Spain. So
Wow.
so it was completely normal, and everyone was happy for you, like you were saying. I mean, you're sad because you're losing a friend, but you're happy because, well, he's getting better opportunities. My parents, actually, it wasn't like I told them like, hey, I'm leaving or anything. They were like always like, when are you going to leave? I mean, you're taking in consideration where have you checked your options. And when I was like, okay, after checking everything that I can do, I think this is the best path for me. They were like, awesome. They were so happy. Like, okay, let's start working on your papers. Let's see where we can get you a passport, because that's another thing. We It was really hard to get a passport back then.
Oh,
And
really? Really? So,
yeah, yeah,
okay.
still.
Still
Still
is?
passports from my country. Yeah, they say something like they don't give you passports because they don't want to waste water, not even paper, but water. You do need a lot of water to make paper. That is true, but still. So
It's an
yeah,
interesting corner to cut to to save water to not produce passports. Do
yeah.
you think that, I mean, in reality, do you think that's some sort of like government
It's
like
so you don't leave your country. That's
yeah, okay,
exactly
that's
what
what
it
it's
is.
about. Yeah. Okay.
That's exactly what it is about. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. They want to retain
So
the people because without people you don't have a country. So I and yeah.
exactly, exactly, and
The
it's
max exile is probably also not a great PR thing for
that's what I was going to say.
yeah.
Is if you're having a max style, because if everyone is dying in Venezuela, it's like okay, I don't. Other people's is like, other countries is like, well, I don't care about Venezuela, right? But when you're next to Venezuela and suddenly you have a million Venezuelans living in your country, starving on the streets, looking for any kind of jobs or whatever, just like okay, I gotta solve the issue back home in Venezuela so they can go back because I don't want these people in here, right?
Yeah, it
Uh,
becomes somebody else's problem at that point, and then other countries step in because they want to act like they're there to help, but they're really like, we don't want this messing up our economy, or like
and that's normal. That's normal. You
yeah,
could say, well, it's not the best way of thinking, yeah, but it's normal. I mean, you gotta look up for yourself first before you can take care of someone else. That is normal.
and you mentioned you have a lot of friends here in Spain. Where are some of the other countries that your network is sort of expanded to? You mentioned the U.S., other
Yeah,
South American or
U.S.
Central American countries, or
Yeah, I do
generally do
have
people
friends in
escape?
Argentina, in
Okay.
Uruguay. My brother is living in Colombia. Most of my friends are distributed between Europe and the States. I have a lot of friends in California in general and in Florida. And here in Spain, there's a lot. Just that we're in different cities. On Valencia, I'm the only one right now. Before I moved here, there was a couple of friends that were living here, but they got a job offer for to go to UK. So well, they left
Mm.
before I arrived. But yeah, I mean, most of us are if you wanna select a place, it would be Spain. One of my friends, he's living in Panama, but he's getting well. He was supposed to get married this last year, 2020. For
Yeah.
obvious reasons, it didn't happen. But the wedding was supposed to be here in Spain. But he was like, okay, I'm living in Panama, but if I take in consideration my family, my friends, and everyone that I know, the the easiest and cheapest place to do it will be Spain because most of the people live on Spain or near Spain. So
Right.
doing it in Panama would be like no one will go.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. And the people that stay, like your parents, for instance, like they were excited for you to leave, but it doesn't sound like it was a real option for them to go at that point. Is why do people stay? And then maybe a little bit closer to home for you, like do you have plans or I'm trying to think how to not say this in Spanish. Tienes ganas de do you wanna do you have plans, or are you hoping to bring your family here?
Yeah, why would people stay in Venezuela? There's tons of reasons, and I can't. I'm no one to judge them. I just have my own priorities, and I completely understand anyone that would say like, hey, this is what I was born, and I just want to stay here. But I also understand anyone that say this place do not have the people that I was around when I was born. It doesn't have the same name. It doesn't have the same currency flag. It doesn't have anything of the country I remember. So I just want to leave this place. I completely understand all the options. My family, the I love my family. My mom, she stopped working to raise me. That's what she said. To be honest, she just didn't want to work anymore and took the chance to raise me. My dad, well, he if it was for him, up to him, he will still be working. But he's a lawyer and a lawyer in a country without any kind of law. So he was pretty much forced not to do anymore. He was going to the office. They had every day just to see what would come up. But eventually, they couldn't even afford paying the office, so they just have to sell it and shut it down. So they're pretty much retired now. At the beginning, my dad was like, "No, I'm not gonna leave because I have my mom, well, my grandmother. Yeah, she's here. I have my family here, and this is my country. What I'm gonna do in another place and stuff." To be fairly honest, my parents, both of them, doesn't matter what excuse they say, they were just scared because it's scary leaving your country. It's scary. I was scared when I left Venezuela, but more excited than scared. I was
Yeah.
scared when I left Argentina to come here, but once again, more excited than scared because I still have my life in front of me and I wanted to to achieve something. My parents, they felt they achieved what they wanted in their life, and moving away would be losing it. It just, I was trying to let them know that they already lost it. It's not like it wasn't their option, someone took it from them. They had their family, their friends, they have everything, but their friends moved, their family left. My grandma died, my cousins and my uncles, they all left the country. My brother left the country, I left the country. So now my parents are in a place where they have no hobbies, no money, no friends, no family. And now it is also really hard for them to leave. It was easier for them 5 years ago when they
Mm.
were like, I don't know, 67, something like that. But the country was on a moment, and their bank accounts was in a place where they could try at least. Now and they had a house they could sell and buy something somewhere else. Now they on a spot where I've been supporting them. I mean, maintaining them for the last 3 4 years. If they decide to sell their house, it will it's I mean, our economy went south, so they will be able to afford a house here in Spain. But one, instead, before they have a flat that has a pool, it has a park, it has a lot of stuff on it because it's like a luxury place, and they will barely be able to get a small flat now. Before they could get two. One of them
Mm.
they will live in, they will rent the other one. We could try to, I don't know, try to sort it out, but they were like, no, well, Venezuela is really cheap. At the moment, it was because you couldn't get, it was illegal to have foreign currencies. So when I was sending them dollars, the exchange rate on the black market was a lot higher than the local one. It was difficult to get food, but if you found it, you they were able to get it. But now that everything is dollarized, you can find anything you want. It's just really expensive. It's pretty much as expensive having them there living as having them here.
Yeah.
So we're trying to bring them here. I mean, that's the plan. We already applied for the citizenship in here. We're hoping to get it next this year or maybe next one. And once that's done, our plan is to bring my family here.
That's awesome. I have so much hope for you that that can come through and work out. Does that seem like a process that's fairly straightforward? Like, is it just a question of doing checking all the right boxes and paying all the right fees and all that, or is it more of like a lottery, like and what is that process like?
Right. No, well, the my citizenship is just going through the right process. That's it. That's a certain. Now bringing my
Yours
parents.
personally, you and your and
Yeah,
Giovanna, your wife,
exactly.
and that is because you can explain it better than me, but because of the relationship between Spain and former Spanish colonies, correct?
Exactly. So when you're living in a country for a specified amount of time, normally you're able to apply for citizenship. There's a treatment between Spain and the foreign colonies, exactly, that the amount of time that you gotta be living in the on Spain to get the citizenship is a lot less. It's just 2 years. So we already have more than 2 years here, and we apply for it. We're just waiting for the answer. Now
And
to
that's
bring
more or less a formality. Like you're going to get that. And then so the question to proceed that is for anybody that's wanting to follow in your path, they're sitting in Venezuela listening to this now or some other country, they're saying, "Hey, I live in a former Spanish colony. I want to go live in Spain." How were you able to stay for 2 years? Most people can arrive for 90 days. That's all you get and you have to leave. But you were able to stay for 2 years. So what was that like?
Right. So like I said, options. There's tons of options everywhere. I mean, we to apply for the citizenship, you gotta be a legal resident for more than 2 years. To be a legal resident, you can't be a student. But any kind of it doesn't matter if it's a temporary or what, but if it's a residency, it works. In my case, I applied for a kind of a golden visa that is pretty much the same one that you apply that lets you live on Spain if you can show that you have enough money to support yourself for the time that the visa lasts. So, for example, if it's 1 year, you gotta have something like 30,000 euro, 32,000 euros, something like that. You gotta show that you have it or it's coming to you, something like that. So so that's what we did. We save a lot of money. My parents loaned me a little bit of it so we could have the complete amount, and that's how we came here. But there's a lot of other options. You can work here. There's a lot of different work visas to work legal here on Spain. Like I said, there's a lot of options. Just taking the time to to look for which one is suits your needs, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's like a common mindset that like, "Oh, well, I just can't go. I can't. They won't let me stay." I mean, I had that mindset for a long time, but there are ways. There's lots of ways to get to a country and stay legally. You just have to do the research. The visa, for anybody that's wondering, is called the non-lucrative visa. Just to clarify one thing, Rafa, correct me if I'm wrong or if your situation was different, but you don't actually have to have that amount of money in savings. There actually is no like set amount that they tell you you need, but it's just quote unquote enough to sustain you for a year, and it's right around in that range that Rafa said. But you can also show that that money is coming, like if you have a salary coming from another country or a pension or just even just a retirement account or anything like that, that you can say, hey, look, I have money if I need it. I'm not coming here to take a job and soak up some of your resources. I'm coming here and only going to contribute positively.
Yeah, exactly. That was the exact situation for me. Depending on where you're from, the requirements for the visa will change. You gotta keep in mind that if you're from Venezuela, you will be on one of the toughest spots. I applied from Argentina because it was easier. Even when I was Venezuelan, I was living in Argentina, so I could apply from there, and it was easier for me to apply there than apply in Venezuela because I had to show just 6 months of money on Argentina. Instead, I had to show 1 year of money, and I had to have the money on account if I applied from Venezuela. Back at the moment, right? That was a really tough and
Mhm.
complicated years from Venezuela. So maybe it's easier now. You just gotta look up. I mean, yeah, ask around, go to the embassy, and get information for yourself. Let's see
Yeah.
what's the case when you're trying to apply.
Yeah, don't just think that it's the answer is going to be no. There's a strong possibility the answer could be yes, but it's going to take a little bit of work and checking all the right boxes and everything. So yeah, it takes some time. And so sorry, we got off track a little bit with my question there, but you were so and as far as bringing your family here, like is that just a matter of checking the right boxes or
Yeah,
a bit more
right.
complicated?
To bring my family is a little more complicated. They have some extra requirements. Like one of the things that they require is that my parents are depending on me economically, at least on a part of it. I mean, if they do have a little bit of income, I at least one of part of the money they need to get to each month, I gotta come from me. But in this case, I'm sustaining them. I'm the only income they have, so it's like just a checkbox. And what else? If they're older, then it's easier. So, for example, it's easier for me to bring my parents than it would be to bring my brother. I could bring my brother too, but it's easier. Like they have higher age. My parents are completely dependent on me,
Mm,
so yeah, it's in that case. The lawyer I was talking to, she said like, okay, I think your case is just a matter of applying, but in the case of bringing my parents, it's more like a lottery because they gotta check everything and see, hey, I think it's cool or not. Instead, on the case of my when I applied for my citizenship, it was just a matter of I do have the time or not. So if I
yeah.
have the time and I follow the correct path and I don't no one is looking for me to put me in jail because I didn't kill anyone, stuff like that, then
Yeah.
should go right.
Yeah, yeah, they just wanna know that you're not a like a criminal, sick,
Yeah,
or, gonna be a burden on the state somehow, so, like, that otherwise, if you're coming here to contribute positively, it's pretty open arms.
yeah,
Do,
and
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, you go ahead, my friend.
Do you do you think you'll this might be a little bit heavy, but I'm genuinely curious, and feel free to just say, "I don't know," and we'll pass, but, like, do you believe like that Spain is it for you, or like do you have hopes of returning to Venezuela if things improve one day? Like like is there, cuz I mean I personally like I struggle with this. Like I love my country and where I'm from. It's a little bit easier to hate on the US as of today right now. There's a lot of drama going on there, but I mean I genuinely like where I come from and I have friends and family there. They're not going to move here, but at the same time I'm very happy here. I'm enjoying my life. So when my wife and I talk about this like dichotomy of okay, like, well, are we going to die in Spain? Like, no, we're probably going to go back where we see this as a fun adventure. But on the other hand, to say, well, but we are genuinely very happy here. So that we do kind of have this conversation, and it's a very huge luxury to be able to have that conversation. Like that doesn't escape me. Like it's a luxury to be able to say we get to choose, and we wouldn't be returning to a place that we would have like concerns about returning to for anything other than like can we afford a good mortgage and health insurance. But we can go and we live. So like when you and Giovanna talk about this, or do you or does it even come up in conversation, like is that a dream to one day return, or is it like no, I'm cool here?
I think this question is more of a kind of personality question because on my case, I wanted to leave my country even before it all went south because, like I said, I think that my country is where it is because of us, of how we are as Venezuelans, of people, because we didn't have a nuclear bomb going on on our city that destroyed everything, and we're just running away from the aftermath of it and hoping we can go back one day. No, we destroyed everything, and if we wanted to make it right, we could make it right. But we just don't want it. We want something different from what we have right now. Still really shitty. So I I wanted to leave my country when it still had money because I was not comfortable with how it was being there with a lot of stuff. Just a small parenthesis here. My country
Yeah.
is beautiful. It's a beautiful country. My city, Caracas, it was terrible the way they built it. It was terrible. No one thought about it. There was no kind of plan howsoever. Just start dropping buildings and stuff. But even so, it's the most beautiful. Naturally, I mean, most beautiful city I ever seen.
It's
So we have
gorgeous. I have not been there. I've just seen, and mainly through you and your wife, seen pictures. And I mean, and your wife especially has, I think, a lot of amour for your country's natural beauty and like and the soul of the country and the
yeah.
people and the food and we've gone out and had arepas before and talked about this. Like, there's a lot of beauty there. So I think it's clear for anybody listening, like it's not as if you're a hater here on your country.
Exactly.
You're just pointing out some facts, or you know, from your standpoint and having lived through it.
Exactly, and it's not like everything was bad while living there either. I
Yeah.
had great friends. My family is living there. I We have great food. Uh, Parties, at least for me, parties in Caracas are the best parties ever because you can dance all night long. In Argentina, the music was great. Everyone was dressed great, but dancing all night long it was impossible because after 2 a.m. or 1 a.m., they just put some kind of what they used to call it music, but for me, it was really weird noise. It was uh, versions of music on cumbia. So, for example, I remember they put Adele on cumbia, they put Wisin and Yandel in cumbia. So it was like I just used to love that song, but you just ruined it for me. So it was like time to sit down. So yeah, I mean, I had a great time back home, and not everything was bad, but still, I'm having a great time here, and we're not. I mean, there's literally no way that I will be going back home back to Venezuela. With that said, like I said, I think this kind of conversation depends a lot too on the personality
Sure.
of everyone because like you said, you have this conversation with your wife, with Allison. I do have this conversation too with Giovanna, with my wife, but it's not like okay, we're cool here. Should we go back to Venezuela? Our discussion is like, okay, we love it here in Valencia. Should we go somewhere else? Maybe should we go and live a year on Germany? Should we go and live a year on Japan to see how it is, or go to Australia? I don't know, New Zealand. There's a lot of places we really wish to know, and see, yeah, I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
See where it would take us, and maybe it's great here, but we prefer it somewhere else. That's just trying to get your things together, think on the future, not only on what is going on every day. That's how I see it. But between all the options that ever cross our minds, going back to Venezuela has never been one of them. I mean,
Understood.
yeah.
Understood. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And we didn't really get to this, and I don't think it's. I thought we would spend more time here, but I think the story that you've told and the things we talked about were just much more important. But just really quickly, was the transition to Argentina pretty like? Can a Venezuelan just move to Argentina, or did you have to go through a certain process to do that as well?
Okay, to as a Venezuelan to move to a lot of the countries back when I did it 4 years ago, it was easier than it is now because after I left, everyone was leaving my country, so we're starting to have issues on the surrounding South American countries for the huge amount of Venezuelans that were going there. But still, it's pretty straightforward. I mean,
Yeah.
just a procedure you have to do. It takes time. It takes a couple of months. You just gotta go through it, and everything will work out. Uh, One thing that I wish to say to people is that when you're going somewhere else, you you're literally no one to go somewhere to ask for anything. So if you think you're not having enough opportunities where you're from, I think you don't feel comfortable in your country or whatever you are, whatever you're doing, there's other options. No one is forcing you to stay there. You can go out, see the world, see if there's another place that is better suited for you. But that's it. You're looking for a place where you can give the best of you and receive what you're hoping. But there's a lot of Venezuelans that's another reality. There's a lot of Venezuelans like I did that we left our country trying to like I said, do the best we can so we can receive what we hope we deserve, like we think we deserve. But there's a lot of Venezuelans too that it's like, okay, I just leave my country and I go to Argentina and I go and say, hey, I have 3 kids and I'm underage, so I need you to give me money. Why? Because
Mhm.
well, I live here legally. I just finished all my paperwork. I'm legal here, and you have some
Some
measures
help.
that say, yeah, that you give money for each kid to people, and if they're underage, you give them even more money. So I have 17 years old. I'm 17 years old, 3 kids. So go ahead, give me money.
Mm.
So if you don't have anything to bring to the table, like society and economies are like clocks. You have different parts that are, how you call them, and
Little the pieces to the clock, like
yeah,
the yeah,
well,
pieces. We'll
little
go with
pieces.
that.
Yeah, let's go with pieces. You have the pieces in the clock, and they all work
I think
together, and
the
they,
I think the word is cog, cog. It's like the cog, like the little things,
yeah,
that,
in
the
Spanish it's
circular things.
engranaje, but I have no
Okay, yeah.
idea in English. But yeah,
I don't have any idea in Spanish,
well,
so
you have different pieces, let's say.
yeah.
You have different pieces that work together to go around, but you're not a piece that will work together with anyone. You're just staying there with a moving saying, hey, give me energy, but I don't want to move here. I don't want to work at all in this clock, on this economy and this country. So if you don't have anything to provide, or you just don't want to give your best, just stay back home because,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
bother.
a piece of what you mentioned there is a big reason why, like one of the inspirational reasons I wanted to start this show is talking about, like, you're not trapped. Like, some people are like living in other countries just because they want to have fun and experience other places, and some people are escaping horrible situations, like you said, like Venezuela's not in that category where there's a genocide going on, but there are refugees living here and all around that are literally escaping war or political persecution or whatever. And then there's people that are like, hey, I need better for my life, I'm worth more, I can do more. And none of those people are trapped where they are. They all have the ability to go somewhere else. We just kind of tend to think that we're trapped, I think, a little bit, like, because it's the norm to stay put. So yeah, just sharing people's stories like yours, and others that are taking that leap of faith, pushing the boundaries a little bit, trying new things, and talking about how to get there for others that are interested in doing the same is sort of the whole point of this show. So yeah, that's a really good point you made.
One last thing I wanted to say is that it is it is hard. I mean, it has good things and bad things. Like everything in life, is there's nothing that is just perfect, or there's nothing that is just terrible. Decide to leave your country, you just gotta keep in mind, and be like, focus yourself, and see, okay, what is in it for me, what am I willing to sacrifice, and what am I expecting from this. So I could say that every time I move, I felt a huge improvement on my economy mainly,
Yeah.
and my quality of life. I mean, I have a lot of amazing friends here, like Chase. Life in here, it's awesome. The way we, I mean, it's just sitting out, having a beer during winter, and being able to just enjoy it. And it's just, for me, this is amazing. But on the downside, you lose a lot of things too. So
Yeah.
it's not perfect. I miss my family. I haven't seen my parents in 4 years. Now we have really different time zones. Sometimes I just want to talk with them and they're asleep. Sometimes
Yeah.
one day my dad, he had a, like a couple of weeks ago, he just fainted, and my mom was calling me well, I don't know, who should I call, what should I do, and it was like 3 a.m. for me, and I was with my phone silence. I didn't even hear her or answer. So thank God nothing bad happened. But those are things you're missing a lot too. And also there's a lot of amazing people. There's a lot of good people that will welcome you with open arms, because you have something to provide. You're someone of value too. There's at the same time, there's people that is just that. There's good people and bad people everywhere. On your own country, probably you're walking and some crazy guy go around say something to you. That will happen here too. And sometimes he will say the things he would say would be because of your skin color, because you're high, because you're small, because you're foreigner or you're not foreigner. I mean, those things
Yeah.
happen. They're not the common scenario, not here, not anywhere, but those things happen, and just a matter of, I mean, you gotta be strong for it, and
Yeah.
see if that, I mean, if it's worth for you.
Yeah, there's a trade-off. Like it's not all. Some people might hear this and say, "Oh, Rafa's like just living the dream now. Like he's arrived and it's all like he's everything's sunshine and butterflies." But like there is that trade-off. I mean, I'm missing a funeral this weekend. I've missed for someone very close to me. I'm missed weddings and birthdays and kids being born and just the occasional call during when you really want to have a conversation and then on the flip side, I've made amazing friends and had great experiences, and so everything in life is this trade-off. I think it's an awesome place to wrap this up. I'm pretty sure we could talk for hours about this stuff, but maybe we'll have to do a follow-up session. But this has been awesome, Rafa. Like really, really cool to hear more about your story. I've wanted to have this conversation for a while, but we're always just in a group or, I get to hear little bits and pieces of it. So for me personally, just to hear the whole story and dig a little deeper was a lot of fun and really eye-opening. And then on the flip side, I think people listening to this could learn a lot about from what you've gone through and how you've risen to where you are and the life you've made for yourself. It's inspiring.
Thanks, man. Thanks. It was a great time. And like you said, we could have a follow up. And it will be also great to hear your side of the story too. How was it for you to leave and everything in your life?
We'll
Uh,
put you on the other side of the microphone next time. All right.
yeah, yeah, totally. I'll do the interview next time.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, Rafa, and we'll see you soon.
See you, my friend. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in today from wherever you are in the world. Once again, I'm Chase, and this has been another episode of About Abroad. You can visit aboutabroad.com to get our latest updates and listen to past episodes, or find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, really anywhere you get your podcasts. On that note, if you enjoyed the show, feel free to subscribe, and if inclined, leave a few stars and a review. It's truly, truly appreciated and will help more wanderers just like you find us. Until the next time, adios from España.